Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be proving the quadratic formula. So, this is the general quadratic equation. A is any number, any constant, same with B and C. ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And we know that any equation of this form, we can use this quadratic formula here to solve for x. But how do we get from this general quadratic equation to its quadratic formula? That's what we're going to be looking at in today's video. So the first step here is to identify what we actually have. And we have here a complete the square. So the first step is either to factorize out the a, which would give us ax squared plus bx over a, because obviously a is a constant. But I think the best first step is just to divide by a, because when you factorize out by a and we go later on to the problem, it can just lead to silly mistakes. So let's start off by dividing by a. ax squared divided by a plus bx over a plus c over a equals 0. These cancel out, so we are left with x squared plus bx plus c over a, equals 0. Now let's complete the square. X squared plus bx, we know this is a form of complete the square, so we remove the squared here, x, and then we do b over a halved plus b over 2a, removing the x squared, because when we complete the square, what we're doing is we're taking this rectangle of sides x and b. Sorry, this may be a bit confusing, but I promise it's worth it. So because this gives us x squared and bx, and we're converting this into a square of sides x and b over 2, x and b over 2, because this gives us x squared bx over 2, bx over 2, and also this here, this completing the square is b over 2 squared, which is why x squared plus bx, which is what this rectangle here represents, can be shown as this square, where we minus this little mini square formed b over 2 squared to give us x squared plus bx, because bx over 2 and bx over 2 equals bx. So we have x squared plus bx as long as we minus this b over 2 squared, which is why here we are going to minus b over 2a squared, because we want this bit of the square to create this rectangle. So we need to minus this square, and obviously plus c over a equals 0. Now we are trying to have x by itself on one side. So logically, we're just going to go along and try step by step to separate x. So immediately we can add b over 2a squared. Always just double check your signs, because it's quite common to maybe leave a minus here by accident, and then minus c over a. What can we do here? And now the next step is to square this through, because we're just looking at the right hand side now, trying to simplify this as much as possible. So we have b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. This just drops down and remains the same. And if we look at this side, we can see that we have an a here, so we can quite easily make this a common denominator. So turn this denominator into 4a squared. To do that, we're going to times this side by 4a, giving us 4ac over 4a squared, because all we've done is just multiplied this by 4a over 4a, because we know that this is equal to 1. And you can times anything by 1, obviously, because it keeps it the same. So b squared over 4a squared minus 4ac over 4a we can collect these terms together. Boom. And now we have this on the left hand side. So the next steps become clear. We're going to square root both sides, obviously. You have to do the same to each side. Minus 4ac over 4a squared. And this can be plus or minus, because, for example, negative square root of negative 2 squared equals 4, and 2 squared also equals 4. So we say that the square root of 4 is equal to positive or minus 2. So make sure you remember the positive or minus sign. And then what we do here is we can simplify this right hand side further and just look at it as a separate numerator and denominator. So bring the square root to the top and the bottom, which we can then simplify the bottom very easily to 2a. And now it's beginning to look a lot like the quadratic formula, which is always a good sign. Final few steps, just minus this last term here, and we have done it. Common denominator, so we can just stick that together, and we are left with the final quadratic formula, all from the original general quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is just a little explanation of completing the square. Comment below if you want me to make another video going through this in a bit more depth. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe. Peace out.